Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button. I am one of your hosts, Alejandro, and with me is the finally got a haircut dude.
Paul, hey everybody, how's it going?
Pretty chill. We were just behind the scenes, just testing some new sound system that all the cool stuff that I had planned are not gonna happen now because Zoom is weird. But how's life, Paul?
It has been a much larger improvement over everything else the last couple of weeks. Things are finally calming down here in New Orleans, and getting ready for the summer and all of the crazy festivals for spring and Easter and all that coming up.
Yeah, so now that Mardi Gras is done, what's next?
Well, it was a very quick turnaround between Mardi Gras and St. Patrick's Day, which down here is Mardi Gras 2.0.
Yeah,
it is honestly, people don't think about it, but there's like entire parades just around St. Patty's Day. There's one where they throw vegetables at people. That is just a thing, apparently. Weird, but yeah, it exists. And there's a lot of people that come and visit just to travel and avoid Mardi Gras and all of that. So thank God that's over. But next is probably going to be Easter. They don't have a lot of like party stuff for Easter, but right now we're in the middle of Lent, so we're building up the crawfish season, because while crawfish is popular still, the prices are stupidly high, inflated until after Easter. I don't know why. That's just a thing that happens. And also the crawfish are too small, but by that point the water's warmer and the crawfish swell up to big boys, and that's where the good eating begins. And then it's like music festivals, just literally one weekend after the other. Jazz Fest is coming in this weekend, I think. Final Four for basketball. So all of that is just going to be hitting boom, boom, boom all the way through till like May with Memorial Day and all that stuff. That's what sense. My next few days and weeks are going to be like. How about you?
Yeah, Easter is what's next for us, and we usually take the whole week for a break.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's called Semana Santa, which is like Saint Week. So for the entire week, it's basically our holiday. So think about it like awesome. Like a spring break almost, but almost nationwide. At least depending on your depending on your work and your line of work. Sometimes you get the entire week, or sometimes you just get Wednesday through Friday, and also the weekend. So at least for my case, it's going to be the whole week. I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but I wouldn't mind just chilling. So
it's going to be a lot of game playing, I would think.
Yeah, just, because the week after that week is happening the week after Lego Star Wars. So.
Ooh, yeah, you'll be playing that quite a bit. Just don't mess up your thumb like that one time.
Oh no, that was just Metroid. It's only happened with Metroid. And
I will feel it sometimes after a long time playing Destiny or something, and I'll feel this thing start cramping up on me, and I gotta be like, I don't want it to mess up like Alejandro.
Yeah, I never get that just through stick movement. That was just because the Pro Controller, I was just like slamming that Y button to hell and high water. So
just so weird that like button pressing will like temporarily kind of hurt, but it's the sticks that really mess me up, or my index finger if I have to keep pressing the button and stuff. So the submachine gun meta for Destiny has been very nice to me, because you just have to hold it. You don't have to keep mashing it like the handguns and scout rifles.
Exactly. And before we get into what we have been playing, just a reminder that this is the X Button podcast, or gaming podcast that posts every Wednesday from 10 a.m. onwards, God willing, or any other day, depending on special events happening in the gaming industry. So available on the YouTube channel Escape Media, as well as most audio services around the world. So think Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links in the RSS feed at anchor.fm/escape-media. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe. So Paul, speaking of games, what have you been playing?
I have been playing mostly, well, a little bit of Destiny 2, but mostly GTA Online. I got bit by the bug hard again. I thought I was out of it, and then on a whim, because you suggested it, I bought it because it was $10 for the next generation version of it. I migrated my character over, blah, 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 all that good stuff. And I wanted to see how the tech held up. And for the most part, I will say textures, regular speed and handling the not pop in, because sometimes I do still get pop in, but like handling the giant world that you're in and running around in at the speed of light sometimes used to really struggle and chug a lot. And right now it's been really good. However, the loading screens between sessions, between missions, and whatever else there is, it still takes freaking forever. I don't know what it is. You suggested that it was possibly they're having to hamstring themselves because of so many people still playing on PS4, which I can understand. I could also see that they're trying to push that back because if it truly was that good on PS5, it would probably frustrate people on PS4 because the PS5 people load in and they're finished, but everyone else is waiting to load. So maybe it's like slowing the PS5 people down to catch up and stuff like that. But it happens to me even when I'm on my own, whatever that is. However, starting the game up is very quick. Because it has a new menu system that is way better and more streamlined to explain things, kind of similar to Red Dead Online's mode, where it's like you can pick whatever you want, kind of go straight into that rather than having to load into the world and then pick it, and it's all that nonsense. From there, I started delving into the actual content that they were lauding as all of the new things that they've thrown in there with different missions and raids, heists. And you got me stuck on the raid word now. Because I used to call literally everything a heist because GTA Online was like my first experience with that whole cooperative effort. And it was really cool what I found out is because canonically GTA Online normally takes place a little before GTA 5, as we all know. However, they excuse me, instituted an entire system called, I think, the agency system, which is one of the many ways you can spend your money. The bottom, the floor to get this content is $2 million in-game currency, which is a lot. And when you do that, you can do missions with Franklin from GTA 5 after the game, which I didn't know. And like Lamar is there, his dog Chop is still there, and it's Chop. Dr. Dre. Oh, I just butchered that. I'm so sorry, everyone. Dr. Dre. That was instinct. I'm sorry, my white soul just came out and ruined that. Anyway, Dr. Dre shows up and he's like a huge part of the storyline. But the fact that it takes place,
Dre, like
he's as his own character. And he talks about like the whole idea is the setup is Franklin is using some of his money from the end of GTA 5. He's now like an executive investor, still does like a little bit of executive crime, but like a lot more on the higher side of it all. And like he does like protection services and security and things. Walks around in a suit, has little like salt gray in his beard and stuff. It's like, oh, my baby grown up, look at this man. And like his dog Chop is hanging out in his office at all times, and he's got like gray hairs like dogs do when they get older. And Lamar's running around still dressed like a gangbanger, but he's got like wrinkles and huge glasses now. It's freaking hilarious.
So time has passed.
So time is like really passed apparently since then, like a good 10 plus years, like in real time, I think. But so it's like just this crazy fast forward because you have other missions with Lamar and he's like his young self from GTA 5, which is just weird. But anyway, all that is to say that the concept is Dr. Dre gets his phone stolen with unreleased tracks and you are getting paid to track it down. So it's like a series of missions that you have to do, kind of building it up, working with Franklin, all that cool stuff, because they're getting their money's worth with the voice actor, which good for them. They should pay him for that. And it's honestly a ton of fun, and when you do more of them you get more passive income just naturally. So it's like already one of the best ways to make money in the game, the more you do these missions. And unlike everything else, all the other businesses, you can do them in private lobbies, so you don't have to get hunted by people constantly. Yeah, and because that's absolutely still a thing, like trying to do that and people are going to come after you and stuff. And I try to like be nice, but I'm glad that I'm at like this, I am so above this child trying to play this game that it doesn't bother me anymore, because it used to get me so heated. But like you'll just run by people and be like, yeah, what's up, dude? And like you see them turn process you running by and take their gun out, but like I'm preparing for it, so I just shoot them immediately. And it's really funny to see them try to like grief you and do things based on that. But basically it's just as wild as ever. There's always like rocket bikes and crazy nonsense going on, but the real fun is for me at least, dressing my character up in cool outfits, doing little missions and the races. My goodness, the car physics are so fun to play with, and that's like, oh, it's just beautiful. But anyway, I'm just having fun with it, trying to make money and getting myself wrapped into the meta of, all right, let's find the money. Let's spend it on really dumb stuff. And then we got to get money again. Then we spend it on dumb stuff. And that's been my life for about 4 days.
Yeah, but that's not all you've been playing. I've seen
it isn't, because I got to finally do my first raid completion in Destiny 2. We got to play the Vault of Glass, and after jumping in here and there, I am like a professional at certain encounters because we've done them so many times.
Yeah,
I was able to jump in without a party chat, just kind of hold my own in an area, and then later on we jumped into a new checkpoint to finally fight the last boss, Atheon. And that was honestly pretty fun. I mean, it was getting a little frustrating because some people would have like a really dumb mistake or like not understand, and they never say that they have a problem or confusion until they've made the mistake after. Like, you explain it all and they're like, okay, yeah, I got it. And then afterwards, then they mess up and they're like, wait a minute, I didn't understand the placement of the oracles. And I was like, we just said it. Why didn't you say you didn't understand? And then it wastes like another 30 minutes. So what should have taken a couple of hours ended up taking like 4 for that one encounter. But it was beat just
2 hours.
That's true. It was about 2 hours and a little change, but we didn't start until like 11, where we thought we were going to get started at 10. But we finished it, and then we started working on another raid, and then when I went to bed. But that was fun, and it made me like, I ended up having a dream about like doing raids and helping my buddies out, because I was like on all team artifact shield boy. And since I'm a Titan, that's like exactly how I play anyway. So once I understood how that works, I was like, I will shield the crap out of all of you. Just do your thing.
And think about it this way. Imagine running that raid without even having to worry about having to teach someone it. You just run it. Everyone know what they have to do and just go.
Great.
That's how I run it in the many places that I try to run it.
Yeah.
After I've learned it, is what I always tell is like, it always pained me that every experience of raiding, because I've always also been playing that, we did that raid together, has always been ending in catastrophic failure, because we would always get stuck in one place and the people wouldn't be pulling their weight. And now we have played with people that pull their weight now, finally.
Yeah, thank God. And it was so funny, like right at the end, I was feeling like one of the people that wasn't going to be pulling his weight, because y'all were explaining stuff for the Deepstone Crypt, and my brain was already fried from Vault of Glass. And they were just like, it's okay, you could just shoot people in this room. And I was like, thank God.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of having to be active and figure stuff out.
Yeah, that first encounter of the Vault of Glass is like pretty cool in that you don't need to not many people have to be doing the important mechanics, and that mechanic includes like someone wearing a scanner, someone also wearing like a decoder that helps you open doors. So it's like there's a different level of combination, and then just out clearing. So
real quick, your voice is kind of freaking out. It's doing this.
That's what I was wondering, if it was the mic. So we may need to take a quick pause just so I can fix that. And I'm back after that, a little slightly unfortunate thing with my mic, switching back to another mic. So yeah, that's why we've been playing with Destiny. I'm excited for you to go through the Deepstone Crypt, because it's such a different kind of raid. It looks so much different. Its mechanics are actually easier to learn once you like actually learn them. So that shouldn't be a problem going forward. So remember, Paul, that I said that I hope that I was gonna finish Dark Souls before we recorded the week after? That same day. You
weren't even sure. You were like, I hope so.
Yeah, that same day after we finished recording, as I was waiting for the podcast to render, I beat it. I finally finished freaking Dark Souls.
You are a machine with that game. I don't know how you did what you did.
Yeah.
You crushed it in like 40 hours or something.
Yeah, 46 hours. I thought I had played it for much longer, I tell you. I really thought that, yeah. But it just goes to show you that I was maybe probably putting not as many hours per day as I thought I was. You didn't really, oh, so I only put 3 hours this night. I only put 2 hours this night. So it made you feel like you're playing it for much longer. So, but yeah, that RNG boss, I got good RNG. Got it in one go. Then finally had to finish and beat Gwyn, the dude that looks like Zeus that has a fire sword. He beat me like 5 times. And then I got to cheese him by just going in circles around debris as he was doing some like big swipes at the sword and beat him. And I was like, oh my god, I did it. I put the you have to touch one final bonfire,
yeah,
and then you get consumed in fire, and that's it. That's the game. And then immediately you're put back into the beginning, like at the asylums, all in New Game Plus, like with all your specs as you were. So I was like, should I like?
I'll do it.
Yeah. And here's what happened. I started doing it. I was like, okay, I want to see how much easier everything is now that I have super strength and like I have the level that I had. I finished it at level 91 with like all my strength and dexterity stats and all the cool armor that I upgraded, and it was super strong. So it was until I reached the fire dragon that's in the bridge that I had killed previously. I was like, I'm gonna kill him now, and I had 44,000 souls, and he killed me twice. I was like, I'm out, and deleted. I was like, yep, that's it with Dark Souls for me. So yeah. I'm not touching another Souls game for a while. And I've held true. I've seen more crazy stuff about Elden Ring, and I've been like, I'll get to you eventually. So I actually did get burnt out.
I still cannot believe that somehow, again,
yeah,
you have one of the best games to come out ever, and you're like, you know what I'm gonna do? Play this completely different game that is very similar, and then get burnt out so I don't end up playing the current release. I was like, he's done it again. He's not gonna play Elden Ring for like a year now.
I'm gonna touch it after I finish Horizon, because I'm not playing Horizon. I've been wanting a reason to finally go back to Horizon, because I've been just disdaining it in this whole Souls like abyss that I've been trapped in. All a little reference there for the Four Kings, and I'm glad I did, because now I'm back at Horizon. I'm like, ooh, this is what playing a actually current gen looking game is like, going back to this, and finally getting more knee deep into the story, because I've been playing this game for 60 hours and I barely done the story, Paul. I've been like going all over that damn map, and Horizon does the thing that it's catnip for me, in that if it gives me an idea that I'm gonna upgrade something, I am going to do it. If there's this cool looking armor that's gonna give me better stats and everything, I'm gonna spend all my time until I get it before I just continue. And I spend hours and hours like hunting these machines that I tell you, some of these machines are so hard that I was like, it feels like I'm playing Margit again from Elden Ring. That's like super tough and just beats you left and right. There's some really insane robots that I don't know if they will be quest related, but these are like for the ancillary stuff that I've been doing with that game.
Oh, so you just kind of like jumped the gun, killed some of the things, and you're like, that had to be a quest because this is freaking ridiculous.
Yeah, those are things that you can get because you can make upgrading your weapons and your armor or acquiring new weapons a quest. Like you sit there and if you don't have the materials, you just press triangle and it says create job and it makes it a quest. And some of those quests will take me to like some of the bigger machines. There's like this one that's like a fire bear machine that like hits in the ground and there's like fire that pops up from the floor, and then you have to be constantly dodging. It's like, it's some of the crazy stuff that you see over further west in that game is really crazy, but not as crazy as the story. That story is like sci-fi bananas. Now that I'm more knee deep into it, we have seen that it could get a little bit more sci-fi with that group that you meet that has a very different aesthetic, and then some of the things that this is the Matrix, basically. It's so funny. They got Carrie-Anne Moss as one of the cast members, so they were like, let's just make like a Matrix-style story of 1,000-year-old people, clones, and AI gods. It's like, I'm eating it. I'm absolutely devouring this. I'm like, yes, I'm big. And again, because now I don't have that pressure of like, I want to go back to Elden Ring and seeing all the... I saw there's a picture of this dragon that it's in Elden Ring that was in the Game Awards kind of like replies.
I was like, which one? Because there's
Yeah,
like
there's like
at
many I've
least
heard.
10
Yeah,
different dragons.
yeah, but there's one that looks so cool. It's like like this, and I was like, man, that's cool. I'll get to you later. So
I'm coming back to you, buddy.
yeah, because I had forgotten that I had not only been playing in Forbidden West, but we also got Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
Oh
and,
gosh, I completely forgot about that.
Yes, and
oh man.
And the thing is that I was like, I like Tiny Tina's Wonderland. Let's just put it out there. I was not a big fan of whatchamacallit, Borderlands 3. And also I still wonder, because you also called me out on that. I don't know if me not liking Borderlands 3 had also to do with the fact that I devoured so much Borderlands before that one came out, and then I was like, I don't want this anymore. But I feel I'm justified now, because Tiny Tina Wonderlands is so much like Borderlands 3, but without the things I hated from 3. No Calypso Twins. The aesthetic, actually, even though it's still cel shaded, it still has that same style and animation and design. Just it being like that more medieval setting makes it feel fresh, because the aesthetics of Borderlands 3 were so similar to 2. So it's still the desert areas and some high civilization places, sometimes in between all those deserts. Seeing something more lush and fantastic and getting to fight skeletons and all that, I was like, oh yeah, more skeletons. I just got that off from that in Dark Souls.
How often is it just the skeletons mostly? Because I've
No,
only fought skeletons.
Yeah, there's more. There's other kinds of enemies also.
Okay,
You haven't played much far.
There was like a cultist group or something that briefly I fought, but it was leading into, I guess, some of my thoughts, and then I'll hand it back into you. I first like instinctively loved it a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
I like that it's not tied into the 4 archetypes that we're used to, which I used to love. I mean, they always balance each other out. They're all capable of some crazy nonsense.
What class do you get? Like, out of
I
the classes
picked the death dude that can like leech life from people and has like this the lich that's flying around.
I grabbed one with the big hammer. That when you press the R1, it's like a smashes with a big hammer.
The big hammer dude would have been mine when I was younger, but now I was like, I want to try something that's like a little more challenging. So it was between the spellcaster and the revenant guy, his whole thing is like, you take damage to cast your move, but then you leech life from everybody around you. And so it's a very like a big risk, big reward kind of character, because you can just like, you can get really close to dying, but then you will wipe the floor with like 5 or 6 enemies standing in a circle around you. So that was a lot of fun. I don't know how much I really like the whole melee as the R3 still, because
it's bad. The melee attacks in that game, especially coming from Destiny, it's like it feels so floaty. And like it's like it doesn't feel satisfying to melee, even though this is the first time we had melee weapons stuck to R3.
Kind of funny, because you can theoretically boost the R3, and some of the classes really benefit from that. But I'm like, man, if you really want a melee build, you're gonna have to like remap that button, because that is not something you want to keep hitting all the time. That is gonna ruin your controller, for one, and 2, it just doesn't feel as satisfying.
Well, you know that you know how you can remap in Destiny 2, right?
Yeah.
I've actually remapped the powerful melee to R3 and normal melee to R1.
I think we talked about that, didn't we?
Yeah, but then I did the same where then I remapped finishers to holding square. So I removed like finishers out of that. So
that's cool.
And it actually worked. So
I do really like how Destiny has the option of, all right, this is for like hold, this is for tap it,
double tapping,
like a double tap. And I was like, this just those 3 options lets you give a lot of creativity to what you really want. But because sometimes as we had established, I had the normal melee as R1 and the finisher and powerful move as R3, but like some of those class abilities were different, so you could kind of control when that happened. But sometimes you don't want to do a finisher on an enemy, but you're also empty on a gun, so you're just like, well, time to get into this cutscene and end up dying. Because gosh, I really wish you could get invincibility frames out of the finishers, but they don't give that one to you, alas. But anyway,
Doom.
Yeah, right.
Uh-huh.
That's what I want out of that one. But also, I could totally see how people would really like break that system so quickly.
Especially how easily broken Destiny is, but Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
Yes, back on that. So at first I was like, man, are all these guns going to be just like crossbows, but with like the back end of a gun? I'm glad that they kind of moved away
Yeah,
from that.
quickly. They quickly moved
Yeah.
away from
Oh,
that.
thank God, because that would have really messed with me. Because it is nice that they're a very quick reload. But anyway, some of the concepts, I understand how people are kind of talking smack about the menus and stuff because it's just out of date. It is a PS3 360 era.
It's Borderlands. It's more Borderlands. It's like This is clearly because you know how Borderlands 2 did like 2 years worth of DLC.
Yeah.
This feels like whatever they had planned for DLC for Borderlands 3 they scrapped and then they just made it another game without calling it Borderlands 4 because it doesn't feel like an evolution. I think
they needed it too. Well, that's the weird thing as well because Tiny Tina was older in Borderlands 3 and they had to bring her back to her small version for this game because everyone was like, oh crap, we can't make her
by the way, do you know that the voice of Aloy is Tiny Tina? Ashley Birch.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I didn't even realize that. That's so freaking amazing. I have a new respect for her because that's two very different characters.
And what's funny is that her brother Anthony Birch wrote Borderlands 2. So it's just
really?
Yeah,
That's so cool.
And that was the last best written Borderlands. So them losing Anthony Birch really hurt that series.
That explains so much as to why Borderlands 3 just doesn't hit as much. And within like the first 5 minutes of Tiny Tina's, I got like a good chuckle out of several of the jokes that were told.
Mm-hmm. And now T-rated. That's what's so funny. This is the first time they.
And I never really felt it outside of like the combat because the combat is so tied to like tearing apart enemies and stuff. So now that it's like, yeah, they kind of blow apart, but they're skeletons. And then if it's a human character, they just kind of disappear. I was like, all right, that's kind of pulling a punch. But at the same time, I kind of appreciate it because sometimes, especially in comedy, I'm gonna have the hot takes here today. I feel like people who have a higher rating for things feel like they have to earn that rating. So they only ever do raunchy things. Yes. But all of the funniest, I mean, there was like a thing going around on Twitter where it's like the funniest jokes in Family Guy are consistently the ones that are PG. And it's like, it's just the stuff that you get that comedic timing right and the right one-liner right at the end of a crazy situation going on that will make you laugh way more than anything that you try to drop weird words on things.
Yeah, some of my favorite comedies are PG. They don't need to be R-rated. It's like...
And I think that's definitely working in this game's favor because when you have that restraint, you kind of focus on, okay, how can we make it actually funny instead of we're just going to throw a bunch of crazy F-bombs and whatever swear words we can to throw in there and just see what happens.
And as a contrast to Borderlands 3, which was that in particular. Because again, that game lost any sense of subtlety or idea of like what made good comedy. Obviously, this game still has cringy things. Like the actual economy is called cryptocurrency. Like
I think that's funny.
Yes, but
because that's like playing on it. I think so. That one was like,
it got me. Yeah,
that's clever. And like any of that cringiness is like earned in its earnestness. So I appreciate that. Whereas Borderlands 3's cringiness was like trying to replicate memes that they're like, oh, it's okay that it's outdated. We're just gonna keep doing that.
Yeah, they were trying to make riffs. The dabs, making fun of Twitch streamers, blah blah blah. It just felt like that game always felt like it was too late, in a way, because they spent so much time doing Battleborn and that thing failed when everyone wanted out of Gearbox. Everyone wanted Borderlands 3 from Gearbox. So
I remember playing that beta really long because I had several friends that were playing it, and those matches would literally go on for like 45 minutes of back and forth, and you could not leave, you could not do anything. And gosh, I hated Battleborn so much, but at least the character designs were interesting.
Oh yeah, I feel bad. Like I've never seen a game die more brutally than Battleborn, especially 3 weeks before Overwatch.
Like, the week it launched, it was dead, and gosh, I'm glad I didn't even buy it. But I feel bad for everyone that did. Anyway, yeah, so Tiny Tina's Wonderlands was it's fun, but it's also enough that of like regular Borderlands that it didn't hold my attention for very long.
Mm-hmm.
I also wasn't sure if I liked the overworld into like the smaller environments thing.
Yeah, that
Normally
you
I'm
like a
fine
top
with
down
that.
thing, like a top down thing that you're
No,
kind of just
that
walking.
that by itself is kind of okay. It's the fact that all of the play areas are like so small to tie into that, where it's like
Mm.
all of your real traversal is that overworld, and then when you go in, it's just like this really small area where
But
like,
there's bigger areas. That's the thing.
are there?
Yes,
Okay,
there's
good.
much bigger areas that are
'Cause I
more
was
traditional
like, this is
Borderlands.
like a couple of caves and like a farm and then another farm, but then like the siege thing was really cool,
Mm-hmm.
and then that was like the last thing that was cool that I did for like several hours. So I'm like, oh gosh, is this just the whole game?
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear that at least, and I want to keep playing it, but
Yeah.
also I was like, it's not my highest priority right now.
Exactly, with everything that we have here. But I think what I like about having Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is that it's actually hitting the vibe that I wanted out of it. In that I always want to complement Destiny 2 with another looter. Like last year, that was Outriders, and I feel Tiny
Yeah.
Tina's Wonderlands is doing that now. That it's actually now, if I whenever I run out of things to do with Destiny 2, because now I am at that point where I only have to do raids now. So if I don't have the team, I don't have to keep playing Destiny. I have everything that I really need out of it. So yeah, it's like I can't wait to play a little bit more with Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. But I guess like I mentioned it to you because I showed you the release schedule for like the rest of the year.
Yeah,
April 4, where right now is looking dire.
Oh my gosh, it really is. I'm still holding out hope that God of War Ragnarok's going to hit at the end of the year.
Oh yes, because what else does Sony have? Because they announced something today that's not going to move the needle. So what else do they have?
Yeah. We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, and that's a good segue.
Hey, Gotham Knights, that'll be
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Oh yes.
So, anyway, let's press X, Alejandro.
For some news. All right, Paul. Today's been a day I had been waiting because I knew it could be like this, and it's like the good MJ from No Way Home would say, if you expect to be disappointed, you'll never be disappointed. So, number one, late last year, Bloomberg's Jason Schreier reported Sony was getting ready to move deeper into the subscription model that has been all the rage over on the Xbox side with Game Pass. Today, Sony confirmed such a move. What was known as Project Spartacus is officially known as... Say it.
Plus.
Yeah, that's right. Sony's continuing their PlayStation Plus branding by merging the existing PS Plus service with PlayStation Now, while introducing a tier system as previous rumors suggested. Here's what the revamped PlayStation Plus offerings are. Tier 1, PlayStation Plus Essential, provides the same benefits that PlayStation Plus members are getting today, such as 2 monthly downloadable games, exclusive discounts, cloud storage for saved games, and online multiplayer access. The price for this one is $9.99 monthly, $24.99 quarterly, and $59.99 yearly. Tier 2 is PlayStation Plus Extra. It provides all the benefits from the Essential tier and adds a catalog of up to 400 of the most enjoyable PS4 and PS5 games, including blockbuster hits from the PlayStation Studios catalog and third-party partners. Games in the Extra tier are downloadable for play and are priced at $14.99 monthly and $99.99 yearly, and also $39.99 quarterly. Final tier, PlayStation Plus Premium, provides all the benefits from Essential and Extra tiers and adds up to 340 additional games, including PS3 games available via cloud streaming. Boo! A catalog of beloved classic games available in both streaming and download options from the original PlayStation, PS2, and PSP generations. Editor's note: where the hell's the Vita? It also offers cloud streaming access for original PlayStation, PS2, PSP, and PS4 games offered in the Extra and Premium tiers in markets where PlayStation Now is currently available. Customers can stream games using PS4 and PS5 consoles and PC. And as a final thing, this tier also includes time-limited game trials that are going to be offered inside the tier, so customers can try select games before they buy. The price for this is $17.99 monthly, $49.99 quarterly, and $119.99 yearly. Paul, What'd you think?
Let's start with the good. At least it's not the fake leak that we saw.
Yes. Oh my god, we gotta talk about that leak that had the 4 tiers, and it was like you had to pay it every 3 months.
Gosh, that honestly scared me for a second because it was so bad. It was just like a very official looking piece of it's an image for anybody listening that had like a fake tier list of all the stuff. There were 4 tier lists, just like Alejandro just said, and it had a very messed up, skewed message of like you were only getting it for the highest tier list, as the same thing as what Game Pass gives everyone else for like $10. And what was it like?
$59.99 every 3 months. It said
3 months. That was the worst part of all that, and at least this is better than that. Hey, all right, victories. Take them where you can get them, because God knows that there ain't much more victories to be had in this information, because frankly this is kind of abysmal. This is terrible. Let's go into some details. I'll just mention a few, and then we can go into details about that. Obviously, like PlayStation Essential, at least it's staying the same. Thank God.
It's basically the same. They just added the Essential moniker.
I was really worried that just like even if the fake thing was turned out to be fake, that part of it would be real, like taking away the 2 monthly games to like a higher tier list or something. That would have really messed me up, because I like getting 2 free games every month. It's just kind of a nice thing now. The outside of that, I mean, the PS4, the PS5 games, that it's like, hey, you're gonna be getting access to this for the extra, the second tier level. It's like, all right, I'll take that, I'll accept it. The problems that I'm coming in for, just like you are, is the fact that PlayStation 3 games are only cloud streaming. They
F you, Sony. F you.
They have to use an emulator to get their own games to work, even though they like publicly denounce emulation. That's like literally the only way they can do it, because they coded all their PS3 games so terribly. And then also hiding all of their beloved classic games, as they call it, behind the highest paywall, of course, because they know that's the one everyone wants. Of course, holding the Vita stuff hostage. I want to believe that eventually they'll come back to that, because the Vita is such a popular and beloved system.
Not popular. It's very niche. Don't use popular.
Internationally, it's popular though.
Only in Japan. Only in Japan.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of international people always coming and buying Vitas or things for the Vita, but granted, not commercially at all. Like in a grand scheme, it was not good. However,
Vita is like Sony's biggest failure in PlayStation history. That's like they didn't sell more than 15 million units.
I am kind of happy about these PSP games that they're supposedly talking about. I'm like, hey, I'll keep an eye out for that. But like,
which one though?
Exactly. See, that's what's bugging me the most about this, is they say numbers and they give us no information. At least Nintendo had the gall to say what you were gonna get for what, like the audacity to tell us what we would get in their ridiculously overpriced model. Sony is like, hey, just trust us. Trust us. It's going to be what you want. Of course
it's going to be there.
It's going to be there. And then that's like, numbers mean nothing because they're not actually saying what it is. So it can be anything around that. It can be below that. And it's like, oh, that one didn't work out for sure. It's okay. But you can keep buying from us.
Yeah. It is really unfortunate that PS3 is the PlayStation console that has some of their bigger gems.
Just like their best stuff.
Yeah, like basically the root of why Sony is so successful now with the PS4 generation, and also the games that they're releasing on the PS5 started there. And those games are just trapped in such ancient hardware that was so eclectic that even till this day, the best thing they can do is just keep it as cloud streaming. Something that you already could do already on PS5, which as someone that tried some streaming through the PS5, it's gotten better with latency. Still not where it needs to be. It never beats the fact that playing anything native in your hardware is just so much better. And especially,
do you want to explain to anybody that's listening why cloud gaming is not actually good? Briefly.
Because of latency. With cloud gaming, you always have to rely on your internet, making sure you have the fastest internet, and unless you have no idea how a game feels when you play it locally in your hardware,
you will always have like the games are never gonna feel crisp to play.
There's like a delay.
There's always a delay that in some cases you can get. Some games don't require that kind of precision. They can kind of this works fine. This is it's better than nothing, but it doesn't beat playing it natively. It's like it's so insane how much Microsoft is schooling like Sony with like its backwards compatibility, because you play the games natively on Xbox One and now in the series consoles. And on top of that, they improved those games. They upped the resolutions in a way that you would think that would have been a remaster that they would sell, but no, they did that work for you for it to be free as long as you own the game. So, and that's the thing, the PlayStation 1, PS2, and PSP games, those are downloadable. At least those can be played natively, because those hardwares, those hardwares are not, like I say, like they were not as eclectic, even though they were a little eclectic, because there was always been that mantra that until the PS4, PlayStation development was always hard. There was always a reason that the PS2 versions of games that were also on GameCube and Xbox versions were always the worst versions, but ironically they were the bigger sellers because PlayStation 2 was just so that much popular. But their versions were always worse because the emotion engine of the PS2 was hard to develop for. But some people just sucked it up because the PS2 was that damn successful. Yep. But they haven't said anything about it. They're going to increase the resolution of these games. We're going to be playing them at the original 4:3 look at the original resolution, because they did sell a couple PS2 games on PS4 that they did some work on. They upped the resolution and added trophies for.
Right.
Are all these games going to get that treatment? Are they getting trophy support? Are they getting at least some touch-ups for it to look acceptable in a big screen TV? Then my 65-inch or 55, I don't know how big your TV is.
Yeah, it's something that people are still battling with to this day, of the concept of what looks better, of if you even upscale it, what do you do with it? I mean, look at the Castlevania group recently having to offer 3 different presentation options, because TVs and monitors were so different back then that you can't just one-to-one upscale and pull that information and put it on modern monitors, because the way that they are is not going to read the information correctly, and it's going to like muddy it all up. It's going to mess it up. There's a lot of stuff going into that.
Yeah, I follow a lot of Digital Foundry, and they do DF Retro. That's what it's called, Digital Foundry Retro, where they look back at PS2 games and all that, and how when they look back at it, they actually show you how some games looked when played on original CRTs, which was what these consoles were originally made to play on.
And it looks so different. That's why if you ever play those retro games, they look terrible. They didn't back then.
No, they didn't.
It's not just us making it up, we swear.
And not only that, especially I hadn't realized that the PS2 in particular, the early PS2 era, the 2005 to 2002 era, some of those games looked the best from that entire generation because they were running at 60 frames per second, which is rare usually. It's now, imagine, it was at 60 frames back then. Obviously, then 30 became the thing as they started pushing more graphical power. But then when you mix it with a CRT, those games look beautiful. It's still like there's the art, like playing it in the intended TVs. It's like, it's crazy how that works.
I remember I had a roommate that still kept a CRT at all times because his whole thing was speed running old games, and I didn't take him seriously for the longest time because he would say it looked better and felt better to play on that, and I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, latency, course, the different latency.
Later, I learned that was a real thing, that you needed to do that, especially for some speed runners. They had to play on that because the latency would mess you up on modern monitors and wouldn't allow you to play as fast as you needed to. And I was like, what the
because those consoles were not designed for the newer technology that requires different things for it to lower their latency.
I was just thinking, we've become those nerds that are talking about like vinyl being the best kind of music. It's like, it's ruined by CDs nowadays. You can't do it. You got the true qualities on the vinyl, man.
Look, that is there is some merit for why those for some formats specifically work.
No, you're absolutely right. It's so funny. Just like we finally found that category in the video game world where it's like, that's that thing perfectly extrapolated, like CRTs being the perfect pure way to play old games. It's just great. I can't wait for the CRT revolution to come back.
Yes.
In 10 years.
Oh man. But yeah, it's like going back to this is like, it's really unfortunate. Like some of my favorite PlayStation games of all time are on PS3, like the infamous duology, because obviously we have Second Son on PS4 and it looks great on PS5, but those games are just trapped there. The Killzone trilogy is trapped there. The Resistance trilogy is trapped there. The original Little Big Planet games are trapped there. It's like, it's insane.
Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 4 full games is trapped there. And the Metal Gear Solid HD collection is trapped there for PlayStation
SOCOM Navy SEALs.
Yeah, SOCOM 4, which died a very gruesome death thanks to the PlayStation outage. It's just so unfortunate that Sony, for some reason, hasn't taken the steps to figure it out. And that's the thing. I don't like carrying water for Sony, but like I follow the development of the PCX 3X, something like it's called. It's the emulator for PC that's supposed to be for PS3. Yeah. They've taken years, and I tell you years, to get that thing running.
We briefly touched on that, where you were saying how hard it is.
Yeah, so hard. Like me following the progress report of seeing how Metal Gear Solid 4 is like running on that thing. They finally got it to run at 60 frames.
Ooh.
It's taken them way too long.
And they do it for free, didn't they? Because that's like a modding community.
Exactly, it's just a modding community, and I do wonder if like Sony sees what the grunt work that people are doing there, and be like, that's too hard. Let's just keep moving on. And that was the reason why I was like a proponent originally for whenever they were doing the HD remasters for PS4, because part of me knew it was like, well, if we're not getting backwards compatibility, this was 2013 and 2014. Since we're not getting backwards compatibility, this is the way to go. And then Microsoft dropped the bomb. It was like, no, we figured out backwards compatibility. So it was like, ooh, Sony doesn't look good now trying to sell you remasters. That's why they moved to remakes, to justify it and be like, no, we're now doing ground up remakes.
Yeah.
But that premium tier is like, I need to see the catalog of the PS2, PSP, and PS1, and all those classic games. What is the library for? And
you know what, they could absolutely get me on that if they had the whole Metal Gear Solid series.
That's the thing. It's already on PS Now.
I mean, but
it's already there.
Isn't that still through the? Oh well, obviously cloud streaming.
Yeah.
Well, what about the original though? Because that's not available.
The original could be, because that's the thing. Like the original Metal Gear Solid was put on the PlayStation Classic. They remember when they released that PlayStation that overpriced
and the
PlayStation
GameCube
Classic
as Twin Snakes later on, which added a lot of weird stuff. Apparently,
it ruined like the GameCube version of that game ruined the feel of that game.
Yeah.
Completely, but
and it changed the voice actors and stuff too, didn't it?
Yeah.
For a lot of people. Anyway.
Yes. So I can see dream scenario. Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 for PS2. They actually give us the PS2 versions.
And it's already kind of remastered somewhat. Anyway.
Yeah, like up-res, whatever. If they can get that and add some trophies. It could be like giving the HD collection that it's on PS3. Just make it on PS2. I can see that, but it's still like the PS3 games that I want. It's like, at this point, then just give us the stupid remasters. It's like, you lost. Ken Kutaragi, the guy that designed the PS3, forever ruined you by making the PS3 like that. So, do remasters then. Now that you clearly put it here that you can make native PS3 games work, and now my PS3s will always remain plugged in until that thing dies, because they just never figure it out. Tier 2, I feel, is like, from all of this, it's the more appealing because all those games are downloadable. Yeah. But those also are that's not a tier that I would perpetually be signing up for.
That works better for the casual viewer / player that has a few good games, but not necessarily like the entire catalog of PlayStation Studios for PS4 and PS5. That's going to be giving them so much stuff for their value. I agree.
Yes.
For sure.
Especially because like I mentioned to you, it's like they mentioned Returnal. That was a $70 game that came out last year, and you didn't play it.
Yeah, I'd say like even just 2 good games that people want that they're going to offer is going to make that price worth it for sure.
Yeah, especially in a month or as long as you want to keep playing them. So that one is like the PlayStation Plus Extra. I feel it's improving on what they had offered in a way, because they had the PlayStation Plus Essential Collection. Remember the 20 games that were just on PS5 that were PS4 from the PS4 catalog that were always there. This is expanding on that idea, and now they're going to be offering PS5 games there. The fact that you mentioned the Spider-Man Miles Morales is going to be there, Returnal is going to be there. I would assume Ratchet and Clank is going to be there. Those are 2 big games that I loved from last year you didn't play. because of the
for
price.
that, like, I agree. If that's the case, then I would even be tempted to get it just for Returnal and Ratchet and Clank not having to buy them myself. But then at the same time, it's like that's going to lead us into our second news piece saying that it's only games that have already been out for a while, and you might even be able to get it for like a sale anyway. So what's the point of that when they've already said that they are not going to number two say that they're not doing
day one releases. Yeah, number two, on top of the announcement of the new PlayStation Plus, Jim Ryan gave a new interview with GameIndustry.biz discussing the upcoming new service. Among other things, he gave a direct statement as to why the new service isn't offering day and date day one first party releases. Here's the quote. In terms of putting our own games into the service, or any of our services upon the release, as you will know, this is not a road that we've gone down in the past, and it's not a road that we're going to go down with this new service. We feel if we were to do that with the games that we make at PlayStation Studios, that virtuous cycle will be broken. The level of investment that we need to make in our studios would not be possible, and we think the knock-on effect on the quality of the games that we make would not be something that gamers want. Basically, it's them saying, we're not going to make as much money for our games, putting the first party releases day and date. Because remember, they're the only ones that, because Microsoft's still not done this. Maybe they'll do it later on, but they still sell their games at 60. Sony's the one selling them at 70.
Yep.
And they still sell. That's what's so funny.
Oh my gosh. I mean, like, I understand for a lot of people how the whole, like, games have stayed the same price for so long that, like, obviously because of inflation, you got to raise the price, the blah, 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 blah. But, like, we've also seen that makes you more creative in the resources you use, for one.
Look what we're doing. Look what we're doing.
Yeah, it's, I mean, you find ways around stuff like that. You can't, like, they're doing the lazy way out. We're saying, hey, we're just going to keep raising the prices, and we don't want to offer all of this new work for theoretically 15 or what was it, $17.99 a month, because we don't see that as worth it. But as we've clearly seen, that works in the right context. Look at Game Pass. They're already doing that for $15.99 for their ultimate mode of doing it, not just $14.99 for what was it, PC access, console access across all of that, up-resed on all the base consoles anyway. And it's like they do so much for you to be able to do all that, and it's day one for anything that comes out on the Xbox/PC for that.
That's new.
And that, it's brand new, like literally day one. You don't even have to buy it. That's how we were able to play Forza Horizon 5 and stuff like that. It's like so ridiculous of a deal, and Sony's out here saying that wouldn't work. We've seen it work. They're just not acknowledging it. That's
the thing. Microsoft says it works, but here's the thing, because here's the reality of some things with Game Pass. Right now they're trying to grow Game Pass so damn much that you can sign up for $1. Yeah. How many people are staying after that $1 period is done? I know I haven't. And what in the exclusive games that have come out on Game Pass, how many would you say are the are the quality of what you usually see from PlayStation's latest output? I would make the argument the only one that's done that is Forza Horizon 5. That's the only one that's in that caliber. Look at what's happening with Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite landed the plane basically in fire. Like, a campaign that co-op had to be pushed back until its second season, which in turn, now it's not even going to be ready for a second season. It's going to be sometime in that season. A first season, then it got pushed back like an extra 2 months. The whole thing that's happening over there, the initiative where they were the quadruple A studio that then suddenly it's like, no, we're just setting up the idea for another to give it to another studio, completely ignoring everything that they initially pitched that studio for. The games that have been showing up there, like Psychonauts 2, those games were already in development. They were not being made by Microsoft. Microsoft just like gave money to push it in the finish line, but it wasn't nurtured from the get-go. So Microsoft is a loss leader. They're a $1 trillion company that can lose catastrophical amounts of money just to grow something because their market cap is so high. But the thing is, the proof is in this. I haven't seen a game that has been day one on Game Pass other than Gears 5 and Forza that are like, okay, this is cool that we're getting it this way. But also those games are getting laden with microtransaction nightmare. Like Halo Infinite's multiplayer being free to play. Look at the prices of the store there. They're nightmarish. And Gears 5, it's Battle Pass in its multiplayer side. Abysmal. But the campaign was awesome. But those are also games that Microsoft makes few games, so of course you would expect the few games that they are always made, like Gears of War, to be good. So it's not that impressive for it to be good. They're just giving you for free, basically. So
yeah,
you can kind of see like some poke at some of the ideas. Especially look at Horizon. Look at the quality of Horizon, how it looks, like its production value, its size, its singular approach. It's like that game took 5 years to make. That's expensive. So will the subscription money be enough to like offset that? I see kind of where, especially when Sony sells games, when Xbox was like, yeah, we're doing day one Game Pass, the sales for those games out the window, like they don't sell. But at the same time, it's like they have enough money that as long as they can grow something, it's like, but remember, Microsoft is the expert at brute forcing themselves into an industry by just pushing because they have so much money, and they had the advantage that now Microsoft believes in Xbox, that they can spend that much money just to grow something. I mean, look, they just bought Activision and Bethesda, so they have money to spare to throw around. But true. I see where Sony's coming from. It looks bad because of when you compare it to, because now they're entering this race.
That's a good point. Well, at the same time, I feel like they're comparing it themselves by even entering the race. So then it's on them to differentiate themselves from their own competition, I would say. Yeah. And the fact that they weren't able to do that is also kind of telling in either their, persistence and also creativity. Like they weren't able to do it. They're fitting right alongside the Game Pass, and then they're just going to lose in that comparison.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that this couldn't have also come at the worst time, because I mentioned in our private chat about Gran Turismo 7. So for people that don't know, like Gran Turismo 7 is a $70 game that's laden with microtransactions as if it was a free-to-play game. The reputation of the Gran Turismo series right now in taters because of what's been happening there, with the developer constantly going to the PlayStation blog issuing many apologies. Forza Horizon 5 has microtransactions, but not to the same amount as a $70 game. So in that one case, because you would think, because that's the thing, like, if you're gonna keep pricing your games like that, they have to feel premium. Obviously, we're talking about so that to me is like the NBA 2K right now. Those are $70 games that are still laden with microtransactions. That's unacceptable.
See, that's the kind of games that you have to do that, but then that requires a certain level of communication between the developer and the main studio that you're making games for, to be in agreement of, hey, we're going to put this game out on your service at like a loss, but the microtransactions are going to make up for that. But then at the same time, who gets the money? So that's like, Microsoft was able to nail down that whole concept, I think, over the course of several years. Because I would say also when their Game Pass launched, I wouldn't say it was a success either.
No, not at all. It actually, here's what's funny. PlayStation Plus, this new version of PlayStation Plus is what Game Pass was on 2017 when it originally came out. A catalog of free games. Not new ones, but a catalog that people can dip in and out. If you see something that's interesting, you can come here. Like Netflix. That was Netflix. Like, it's rare that Netflix gives you the day one stuff. Obviously, until they start developing their own stuff, that is like day one here. But it was never the place where you were going to see Spider-Man No Way Home day one. It was never that. Game Pass wasn't that. Xbox was losing so catastrophically that then they were forced to do something that was going to make waves. Be like, hey, sign up to the service. All our new games, they're going to be here. That's why they did it.
Do you think it's more of just because they were in desperation mode?
Absolutely, yeah. Like them doing day-and-day releases with PC and then doing Game Pass was them making moves because they were losing. They were objectively losing the race against PlayStation 4. They were absolutely, especially at that point in time. That's when their exclusives lineup dried up, because they had a lot of exclusives from 2013 to 2016. In fact, more than PlayStation. The problem was that their exclusives didn't hit. Well, then PlayStation was cooking. Then by the time that the the barrel dried up for Microsoft. PlayStation now was finally hitting banger after banger after banger after banger after banger that people then were like, yeah, Xbox never had exclusive. We're like, no, they didn't. They actually had. They just were not making impact like the Uncharted 4s, the Bloodborns, the Horizons, the God of Wars, the Spider-Mans, the Death Strandings, the Last of Us Part 2s. Those all kind of like, they waited and they started releasing that while Microsoft like emptied their load early on because they needed to differentiate themselves early on. So at that point when those exclusives dried up, they didn't have they no longer had more upcoming exclusives to come up. The few other ones that they announced, they got canceled. Others just kept getting delayed indefinitely. So they needed to make those moves. Those were moves that are so pro-consumers, were moves done out of desperation. And obviously it's like everything that looks pro-consumer is super cool. I always say this, it's like, if you are strapped for money, if you want a next-gen console, get a S. Get a Series S. It's $299 and get a Game Pass. It's like you're going to be served there and spend little money.
Yeah.
Sony has a level of quality. Their quality of games, it's like, and because they can afford making this expensive games because their games sell. As soon as you put day one these things, it's over. It's like, why would people buy $70? Because for them it looks worse. They put it at $70 because they need that extra margin to make a profit. So they say. Why would people do that if you have your games on day one in the service? It sucks because I would like, in the ideal world, I would love that to happen because that would mean, think about it this way, we wouldn't need to be doing our arrangement that we're doing to play more games.
Yeah, to do game share, because so you're thinking that if there's going to be a change, it'll be later down the line to see as they think it's going well or not, will determine if they have to make changes.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the so here's also another quote from him. It says that PlayStation's current position, and this is entirely subject to change. It says, the way the world is changing so very quickly at the moment, nothing is forever. Who would have said even 4 years ago that you would see AAA PlayStation IP being published on PC? We started that last year with Horizon Zero Dawn, then Days Gone, and now God of War. We've had great critical success and great commercial success, and everybody has made their peace with that happening and is completely at ease with it. I look back 4 years and think nobody would have seen that coming. That's also Jim Ryan saying that. I had the article open up.
I want to bust in and punch that dude in the face proverbially by saying all of us could have seen that if y'all hadn't been so highbrow about it.
Yeah.
Because that is such a no-brainer for them to do that we've been talking about it for years, and only now were they like, guys, we just had the greatest idea. Let's put all of our exclusives on PC.
No, it is. But think about it that way. 4 years before, they were like, no, you buy PlayStations to play our PlayStation games. They were like they were like that.
Yeah, they said that on record. I remember.
Yeah, they said it on record.
Read that out.
Yeah, so and then they moved to that.
So the way I see it now is that Microsoft will make a claim and then completely get like destroyed in the process of trying to undercut everyone, and then Sony is gonna be like that high elf dude that's like on his high horse being so like hoity-toity, I am so much better than all of you, and then he has to like slowly get off the horse when he realizes he's totally losing, and he's like, okay, let's just help. Let's help.
You nailed it right now. It's like Sony doesn't need to do anything right now because despite Microsoft making moves and making
they
some
just
ground,
don't have any games, so they don't feel the threat.
Exactly. They not only that, it's like Microsoft's making moves, and obviously the pro-consumer things are veering some people over that way. Obviously, helped by the fact that the Series S is so much easier to produce. It's always in the shelf, so it's much easier to get one. Sony's still the market leader, not as definitive as before, but they're still ahead.
Yeah.
When that narrative starts changing, if they start noticing that, then more people are going into Xbox because the Game Pass proposition is actually making a difference, and that's why people are gravitating towards that. Then expect a year or two down the line for them to be like, yeah, you know what? We're going to do that. We're going to put our first party games there. But I will say this. The unintended consequence of this is that then we're going to have to expect probably a little bit less quality from what we usually expect, because now they can take their time. They can put so much money into this because they're selling. Whenever they're no longer selling, they will have to adjust budgets accordingly, because Sony doesn't have the market cap for Microsoft to be a loss leader. Always being in a streaming service, you're going to be losing a lot of money always. Took Netflix almost 20 years to make a profit, but they just kept doing it because they wanted that to happen. So that's always the pitfalls. it would be better for us to get that kind of game. But until that happens, right now, obviously Game Pass just looks so much better. But just understand, it's like, think about the quality of the game Sony releases compared to what Microsoft has done. Whenever Microsoft starts releasing that kind of level of quality and it's in Game Pass, then we can have a different conversation. But until then, it's like, you see why Sony is doing that. And I'll still say it still doesn't look good in comparison to them. At the same time, they don't need to.
Overall, I could totally see how this is like a godsend to so many people who aren't at the level of buying everything already. And they're like, well, shoot, I can just spend a little bit extra that's less than a game a month by far and get all of this stuff. And I think it only affects people like us who are already buying everything so we can talk about it.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
That's why it says, like, if we were Xbox people with all the things that come out there, like, we would be served there. I tell you, I'm still, like, waiting until the right time for me to get a Series S to be able to do that, because obviously Game Pass is still there. But our arrangement has helped us at least a little bit.
So much.
It's not ideal. Ideally, you would be able to afford everything on your own, but that's the tough economic times in the world that we live in. But it's also, think about it, it's like making games is expensive. That's always the push and pull. I just hate this idea that Microsoft is devaluing the idea of purchasing games because of their entire push to put everything into a subscription, because it makes people dumber. It makes the people like not understand how game development works and where sometimes the money comes.
It makes it more unrealistic of an expectation.
Exactly. So that's always my big fear about the, like, as much as I love the pro consumer side of like game subscriptions, that's always like the net negative if it just becomes that, because I know then less money is going to be being put into making better games, because then more money will be needed to put out more games, because you have to keep feeding the feast. That's always the problem with the services, especially you claiming you need your day one stuff. But I'll also be curious. Let's see how many indies launch with this new PlayStation Plus thing. Let's see if
that
actually,
help them.
And mark my words, Sony has already said that they're doing their live service games. I bet you top dollar that's how they're gonna start dipping their toes in. They're gonna be launching those here. Mark my words. They're nothing confirmed, but you'll see. They're saying they're not doing this, but they also said they weren't doing PC, and look where they are now. They're gonna be dipping their toe. They have the advantage of having to dip their toe, because they haven't been forced to do that like Microsoft is. Microsoft already did that. They can't walk that back. They cannot be like, no, now we're not gonna do day one games anymore. They can't. They can't walk that back. Sony can slowly get there because it didn't feel forced. So we'll see if they launch.
My closing thoughts are going to be that what a world we live in a good way, that both of these two biggest people in the industry are operating on such different wavelengths that they try to solve the same problem in a different way. So
exactly. And eventually arriving to the same
right, which is really funny how that ends up being the case, but I love that they both try to counteract one another in such different ways, only to end up kind of in the same battle anyway.
Yeah. I tell you, it's like, I will be a believer that the economics of everything being on Game Pass works when I see a game as good as Horizon Forbidden West launching day one there. That's been nurtured from the beginning, not started. Yes, Starfield is releasing their day one. That's been in development forever, so that doesn't count. So it's like now, like new studios that started now, a new game starting there. If you give me that kind of quality, then I'll eat my words. I'm glad. I like to be proven wrong. At this point, like, I don't believe it. So
I'll make a list of all the words you've said then.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely do it. It's like you need to make me eat crow, because I always have you eating crow so many times. Like right now, number 3. If you're still hoping to play the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild this year, your number 1 most anticipated game this year, Paul.
Yeah.
Bad news.
Bad news.
Yeah. Eiji Onuma posted one of his classic darkroom videos where he's the bearer of bad news and said the new game needs more time to fulfill its vision.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah, so the mid and 34-second video also showed glimpses of Link in the new game, if you're so inclined to watch it. The new game is scheduled to release in 2023. When? Probably spring. So, Paul, I called this. It was like, as soon as I knew that we still... Yeah, when I knew no name was given and only a big 2022 year... I was like, I remember when that Zelda game got a 2016 year, and then it got its name again, got pushed. So it got pushed, we still don't have the name. In a year that's been dominated by Elden Ring, I feel they probably were like, you know what? They'll get their flowers. Let them have it. Let's move out here.
EJ unfortunately nailed it, where he was just like, "Oh, Elden Ring came out and completely changed the game. All right, see y'all next year."
Yeah.
Gosh.
I feel you. I would have loved, but I feel vindicated for putting as an honorable mention this year because I knew this could happen. So
at least in my head, most anticipated isn't I think this is actually going to make it, rather than this is what I would look forward to the most. So I'll hold myself back a little bit from that bet, saying that it wasn't necessarily that I truly thought it, but it was the like, if it could, that is what I would want the most. So I will eat crow in the fact that like I thought there was a chance maybe they would make it because they've already had to pull it back from what 2 years now.
Yeah, well that's the thing.
So
like it was announced in 2019, but then we didn't hear anything at all.
That's true. So yeah, okay.
Until until they showed us the gameplay that had the 2022, but still only called the sequel to Breath of the Wild, last E3.
I would think the subtitle for a game should be one of the first things you kind of come up with, but what do I know about game development? Shoot. Good lord. So yeah, I'm sad about it, but
I'm sad too. I'm sad because I would have loved
kind of expecting it, especially at this point. Like you don't hold, especially for like Nintendo and Legend of Zelda specifically, you don't wait this long before their supposed release during that year to actually reveal everything, including the sequel name and stuff like that.
Funny that this was announced at the end, almost at the end of their fiscal year also, so makes sense.
Yep. But where it shouldn't affect it as much, where they're like, oh, by the way, it's not coming out this year.
Yes. So, but I'll say this, like, because I saw it in those tweets. Paul, Zelda has been an annual franchise for a few times now since 2017. 2017 was Breath of the Wild. 2018 was the Zelda version of Necromancing the Stone. 2019 was the Legend of Zelda's the Link's Awakening remake.
Oh yeah.
In 2020, I don't think there was a Zelda thing, if I don't remember correctly. But 2020,
where was the Hyrule Warriors?
Hyrule Warriors was 2020. There you go. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity was in 2020. 2021 gave us a Skyward Sword HD remaster.
Yeah.
So
this year might be it.
This might be it. Yes.
Remakes.
Yes,
or the remasters. Sorry.
The remasters for Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. The only two that are missing now for me playable on the Switch. Because remember, Majora's Mask is already playable. It got added to the system.
Yep.
Ocarina of Time was there from the very beginning. So.
What else? I guess because all the truly classic ones are already on there from the Nintendo.
The original Zelda and NES, the Link to the Past and SNES. If they ever do Game Boy, that would have been the Oracle games, but those are the Capcom made ones. They're not the Nintendo made ones.
The DS ones. What was that other one that they made on? Crap. What am I thinking of? Anyway, there's a few here and there that I think are missing, but overall, they've got just about everything. Just Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. You see, the problem is because they waited this long, basically everything I was looking for in the Twilight Princess remaster has been given to me in Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Literally everything from the aesthetic to the play style and all that stuff is already in there, and it's just so much better that I don't even want to play Twilight Princess anymore because I know how slow that start is, and I don't want to have to sink another 8 hours into the freaking game to get to the fun part where I get to play as Link, where I really want to do stuff.
Yeah.
But at least we have Wind Waker, maybe.
Yeah. I just want them, just for completionist sake, to be like, finally we have our Zelda machine here, the one that has all of them. Like we have Mario, with the exception of Mario Galaxy 2.
Because I've already been like praising the idea of, I'd play nothing else if I got a Twilight Princess remaster, and now I'm like, crap, if it really comes out, I don't even know if I want to finish it.
Yes, but I believe it now more than ever that it could happen, especially like the trusted sources that we believe from BGC and all that have reported.
They already said it's supposed to be done.
Yeah, they've been happening. So it's like, and then Jeff Grubb was like, yeah, I believe they're happening. Just they're in classic Nintendo fashion. They hold them until they need them. They need them now, especially if they want to keep that cadence of cadence of Hyrule. The cadence of getting a Zelda thing out every year. whenever they announced that the Pokemon Gen 9 and Xenoblade Chronicles were on September and November, that's when I told you, yeah, it's like, this either means Zelda's on October or it's out. Because Pokemon got the honors in November. So hopefully maybe October is when we get those. It's kind of like in the same period we got the Super Mario 3D.
Got like another summer thing.
I wouldn't be opposed at all. But they would have to announce it now because already got a direct where none of that happened. So, oh well. Bad news for Zelda fans. Last one, also another delay, but this was more confirmation. Now, another Bloomberg scoop got confirmed. Number 4, Rocksteady Sefton Hill announced via Twitter the official confirmation of the delay for Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. We heard close to a month ago. One of your honorable mentions, and number 8 for me for the most anticipated. So I lost that one in the bottom. Citing the usual shebang when it comes to delays, the new game is now scheduled to release in 2023, marking 8 years since Rocksteady's last official game released. As for the WB slate scheduled for this year, we still got confirmation for LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga for April 5th, 2022, so a week from today, Paul. Gotham Knights a week and a few days from today. And no, actually a week from today, right?
Next week, yeah.
Yeah, it's Tuesday, April 5th, yeah. LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. By the way, look at the open world video. Yeah, I find it. It's like oh man. Gotham Knights in October 25th, 2022, and Hogwarts Legacy having a vague holiday 2022 window. I feel Hogwarts Legacy dips.
It's gonna launch in December, or it's not making it through this year.
Yeah, it's like,
especially with the scale that they're supposedly trying to go for and the polish that they're requiring of it.
Yeah,
I mean, we saw that stuff. I don't know if that's gonna make it this year unless it's really like close to done.
Yeah, that's my only thing. The fact that they had an entire state of play and they didn't solidify the release other than giving the window is like they've given themselves the wiggle room. So I'm only like if you expect to be disappointed, you'll never be disappointed. I'm only expecting these other two. LEGO Star Wars is basically here. It's not gonna get delayed.
It can't be. We're in the category of you don't delay unless you're Cyberpunk.
Yes, exactly.
So, and I don't think a LEGO game is gonna need to be delayed that close to release. So, I mean, it looks so good. Gosh, if I was a kid and that game came out, I would have just. I would have played nothing else but even now, like going back to play some of those, it's like rough, but it's got so much charm and earnestness that I love it. And
they are games I'm surprised you haven't played with Elizabeth, your wife. Those are
because they're so hard to like. Besides the like PlayStation 4 ones, like all the old school ones from like the PS2 and PS3, of course, like that's like. I'm not going to be able to pull all my stuff out easily.
Yeah, it's just with their Xbox backwards compatibility. Because all of those games
that would be the only way I'd be able to do that. But yeah, you're right. I could technically play something like the Marvel games or any of the Lego Batman series, but it takes us so long to play literally anything. Like we haven't touched Uncharted. We haven't touched It Takes Two. Because like by the time she gets off work as a counselor, she's so exhausted that gaming takes more energy, whereas opposed to me and you, it like kind of gives us energy depending on what it is. So like with her, it's like you have to get her on a good day for her to be able to play. So that's like it's just gonna take us forever to get through just about anything.
Makes sense. Yeah, but something that they could play. I don't know if this new Lego game is co-op based on the perspective.
It looks like it. It was two players, because you saw that video you sent to me. There were two characters standing next to each other and you could switch back and forth.
That probably does the split screen thing, because remember Lego used to have the they started doing hybrid where you were in the same screen, and if you got too far
and if
away,
you got far enough it would split, which was really cool and seamless. But I think that's what they're just going to keep doing. But now with like a full camera movement, I could totally see us like jumping in on that if I'm playing it, and she could just pick up and put down that. Yeah,
that's always been the Lego thing. Just pick up and play.
So I love that whole idea on unlocking different characters, the sheer catharsis of getting those studs, and you get like one big one and all the pieces just thump, 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 and you see like the numbers go up.
It's the Ratchet and Clank thing. They were getting bolts in Ratchet and Clank. They're just
heroin right into my system. It just feels so good.
It just looks so charming. It just looks so well made from what I've seen that I just want to exist in that Star Wars world again in that way. Especially because it's giving us what many other Star Wars games don't. So at least we know it's coming, because then after that, Paul, the drought begins. So there's that thing. There's Ghostwire Tokyo. I've been hearing good stuff.
That's true. That's out there, and we might have to pick that one up at some point because it looks really fun.
Yeah.
And I have a soft spot for that modern supernatural thing going on. It's that thing where I know I would get really into it, so I'm trying to not look at it. So
not yet.
Get really into it.
So at least finish one of the ones that I have, because
I need to finish any one of the 5 games we've bought.
Yeah. So Sifu, Horizon, Elden Ring, and Stranger of Paradise, Tiny Tina. So that's 5.
Adding to that, and I have not finished any of them because I'll get close to one and I'll be like, I want to play the other, and now I can go back to the others, and I'm like, I'm gonna go play GTA Online.
I'm right now like committing to Horizon now. I'm gonna commit because I smell the platinum now. I actually I look at this list, I'm like, oh crap, I'm actually gonna do this. I didn't expect that. So after I saw how big it was, so. That's the next one. Then Stranger of Paradise. I'm saving some of the more cringier moments that I've seen from you to see it. So because I was like, I think those deserve to be experienced.
It's true. I haven't experienced anything that I haven't already seen in a game. So
and the one of the punching. That's still peak. But there's some stuff that happens also in game that is like, I love this game so much. So that I've seen the videos of, but. Yeah, doing that, and then Elden Ring will be big, especially with such a long spell now that we have. Now I'm like, yep, that's where I insert Elden Ring, as I wait to refeed my soul.
And that is totally a game that you can digest for so long and feel like you could just.
And also, I keep saying, it's like the few times that I did back in, like I mentioned that I went to that place where I just went through dungeon to dungeon and get a bunch of mimics and all that. That was just, and showing you the pictures, you were like, how do you find that? I was like, I just found it, just exploring. Yeah. I'm shocked how easy it is to jump back into Elden Ring. Other Souls games, you had to be in it. If not, you're screwed.
Yeah. Because if you like step back, you don't know where you're going, what to do. But like, both the game world is really well created, and it's so hands off that you're just like, all right, today I'm gonna go from this spot that I'm at that way, and let's see what happens.
Yes.
And then like you end up going on crazy mythical adventures all the time.
Absolutely.
So it's like, shoot. It's just one of those things.
And sometimes there's something to experience game outside the hype cycle because you don't feel the pressure to keep looking for the things that others are posting. So there's also an advantage of playing at my own pace. So, and that's it, Paul. So hopefully Lego Star Wars is good next week. So Paul, that's it for the news, and that's it for the show. Where can people find you?
As always, y'all can find me at Dork of Art on Twitter. It's where I post all of my art and getting ready for the release of that game that's coming out pretty soon. Besides that, I've just been posting memes. No, that's the trailer.
Okay.
The game is not till the 9th. But apparently he was talking to me. Steam's giving him a hard time about putting stuff on their official page for whatever reason. So he's trying to like combat that right now. But anyway, hopefully that gets taken care of and we can just keep trucking along like normal. But yeah, that's it for me. How about you? Where can we find you?
They can find me at @_DuroSegovia on Twitter, at AlejandroSegovia93 on Instagram, and whenever I write something at thecriticalcorner.com. Paul, it's been a pleasure. I'll see you online, and everyone stay safe. If you like what you heard or watched, give us a like, subscribe, comment. Tell us what we did right. Tell us what we did wrong. Tell us why we rock. Tell us why we suck. We would love to hear from you. And remember, press X
to play.
See you guys later.
Good night, everybody.